Have you ever wondered what really makes a woman think about a man, even when he's not around? I'm not talking about superficial tricks or cheesy pickup lines. I mean the kind of impact that lingers in her heart and mind long after the texts stop and the calls fade. What if I told you there are just 5 things, 5 powerful, deeply human elements that, if you give them to a woman, she won't just like you. She won't be able to stop thinking about you? Stick around, because today, I'm breaking down exactly what those 5 things are, and trust me, they're not what you think. If you're serious about transforming your love life and creating deep emotional connections, this video might just be the turning point. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. If you're ready to unlock real insights that can shift the way you approach relationships forever, and do watch this video until the end, you're going to want the full picture, not just the highlight reel. All right, let's begin with a story. The story of Daniel and Ava. Daniel was your average guy. No six-pack abs, no sports car, no smooth lines. But he had something else, something that made Ava, a woman who'd had her share of dates and disappointments, feel something different. They met at a mutual friend's get-together. Ava wasn't looking for anything serious, and Daniel wasn't trying to impress. But the way he listened, the way he responded, not with canned compliments, but with presence, made her pause. He didn't chase. He connected. And as they spent more time together, Ava found herself thinking about him at work, late at night, even when they weren't texting. Her friends noticed. She noticed. What was it about Daniel? What did he give her that other guys didn't? Let's break it down. Here are the 5 things that, when given genuinely, make a woman unable to stop thinking about you. Number 1, emotional safety. The secret she craves but never says out loud. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in love? I'm not talking about a simple crush or a few weeks of butterflies. I mean real, soul-gripping love. The kind where you couldn't stop thinking about her voice, her smile, the way she laughed at the stupidest things. Think back to that one woman, yeah. Her, the one who made your heart race just by walking into the room. Now, what if I told you the reason she stayed, or didn't, had less to do with how much you liked her, and more to do with how safe she felt around you? Let's go back to Daniel and Ava for a second. Their connection didn't begin with fireworks. No love at first sight movie scene. No dramatic declarations. It started with a conversation, a quiet one. Ava had just opened up about a part of her past she didn't talk about often. Nothing too dramatic on the surface, but to her it was personal, vulnerable. Now here's the moment that mattered. Daniel didn't flinch. He didn't interrupt. He didn't joke to make things lighter. He simply listened. He didn't try to fix her emotions or offer solutions. He gave her what so few men ever do, space to be heard, seen, and accepted. And right there, something clicked in Ava's heart. A moment that would replay in her mind 100 times. Because here's the truth most guys miss. Women remember how you made them feel far more than what you said. You see, emotional safety isn't about being a therapist. It's about being real enough to say, I see you. All of you. And I'm still here. Let me ask you this. Have you ever opened up to someone only to feel dismissed? Or worse, like you were too much? Now imagine how often she's felt that. That's why emotional safety is powerful. Because it's rare. And when you give it to a woman, you don't just stay in her mind. You live in her heart. You become the man she compares every other man to. So if you're thinking, how do I do that? Here's the answer. You listen with presence. You honor her truth even when it's messy. You create a space where she doesn't need to perform or pretend. It doesn't mean agreeing with everything. It means staying grounded when she's not. It means showing up emotionally, even when the conversation gets uncomfortable. And you know what's crazy? When you make a woman feel emotionally safe, she starts to crave your presence. Not just because you're fun or charming, but because you're the only place she can be herself. So think about that woman you once loved, or maybe the one you love right now. What would change if she felt safer with you than with anyone else? What would it feel like to be that man? That's emotional safety. And that's the first most powerful reason why she won't stop thinking about you. Now let's move to the second thing that makes her heart remember you even when you're not around. Number 2, consistency. The invisible power that builds obsession. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever had someone disappear on you? Maybe everything felt amazing for the first few weeks. The texts were constant. The compliments flowed. The connection was electric. Then suddenly, nothing. Calls slowed down. Messages turned into cold responses. That warm presence? Gone like smoke. And you sat there wondering, was it me? Was it real? What changed? Now flip that around. Imagine being the kind of man who doesn't create confusion, but clarity. The kind of man who makes a woman feel secure in the story. You're building, not constantly wondering where she stands. That's the power of consistency. Let's go back to Daniel and Ava. After that first deep conversation, Ava expected him to pull away, because that's what she was used to. Men who opened up for a moment, then vanished when things got real. But Daniel didn't disappear, he followed up. He messaged the next day, not because he had to, but because he meant it when he said, "Talk soon." He remembered what she said about her big meeting and texted, "Hey, I know today's a big one. You've got this." It wasn't about doing grand things. It was the small, repeated gestures that made Ava feel seen, valued, and safe. And slowly, without even realizing it, Ava started to trust him, crave him, think about him every day, because while other men came and went, Daniel became part of her emotional rhythm. Here's what I want you to understand. Consistency is the bridge between curiosity and emotional attachment. A woman might be intrigued by your looks, your charm, or even your charisma, but she becomes emotionally attached when she learns she can count on you. Ask yourself, do you show up when you say you will? Do your words and actions match even when it's inconvenient? Are you steady when life gets chaotic? Because women don't just want attention, they want reliability. It's not about being perfect. It's about being predictable in the ways that matter. Think about your own story for a moment. That one woman who stuck in your heart didn't. She make you feel like you could rely on her? That she wasn't just a fleeting moment but someone who anchored you? That's what women want too. And when you give them that steady presence, that feeling of, he's there, I can trust him, you don't just enter their thoughts. You become a part of their emotional routine. That's what Daniel became for Ava, a safe, steady rhythm in a world full of broken beats. And over time, that is what made her fall. Not because he was the most exciting, but because he was the most consistent. So here's the truth. If you want her to think about you when she wakes up, if you want her to miss you when you're gone, if you want to be the one she compares every other man to, be consistent. It's not flashy, but it's unforgettable. Now, Whiskey, let's talk about something just as magnetic, confidence. Not the arrogant kind, but the kind that makes a woman feel like she's standing next to a man who knows exactly who he is. Number 3, unshakable confidence, the quiet. Energy that makes her feel safe and drawn to you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and felt invisible? Like no matter what you wore, how you styled your hair, or what words you rehearsed, people just looked past you? Now think of the opposite. Think of that one time you were fully in your element, when your shoulders were back, your voice didn't shake, and you knew you were enough. That feeling, that's unshakable confidence. And trust me, women can feel it instantly. Let's go back to Daniel for a moment. He wasn't tall. He didn't have movie star looks. But when he entered a room, people noticed, not because he demanded attention, but because he carried presence. Ava said something once that reveals everything. Daniel doesn't try to impress anyone, and somehow that's what makes him so impressive. That's the difference between ego and confidence. Ego walks in loud, confidence walks in calm. Ego needs approval, confidence gives energy. Ego flexes, confidence grounds. Here's the thing, confidence isn't about thinking you're better than others. It's about knowing who you are even when no one's clapping. And women, they don't obsess over the loudest guy in the room. They remember the man who doesn't need validation, but offers value. The man who can sit in silence and still feel powerful. The man who's comfortable in his own skin. That's what Daniel had. He didn't try to impress Ava with what he had. He impressed her by knowing what he stood for. And that created a deep sense of safety. Because when a man is emotionally grounded, a woman can let go. She doesn't have to second-guess your words. She doesn't have to walk on eggshells. She doesn't have to wonder if you're saying things to manipulate her into liking you. She just feels relief. It's like this invisible message you send out without saying a word. I'm good with me. You can be good with you. And let's be honest, confidence is contagious. When you're around someone who's secure in who they are, you feel safer being yourself too. That's what Daniel gave Ava, and she couldn't stop thinking about him. Not because he talked the most or showed off, but because he made her feel calm, curious, and safe in his quiet power. So let me ask you again, when was the last time you truly believed in yourself? Not because of what someone said, but because you knew deep down you were enough. That's the kind of man who's unforgettable. That's the kind of energy that lingers in a woman's heart, long after the conversation ends. Unshakable confidence, no ego, no performance, just truth. And now that we've grounded ourselves in who we are, let's take it deeper. Because the next thing a woman can't resist, mental stimulation. Let's talk about how deep conversation, not charm, is what truly captures her mind. Number 4, mental stimulation. The secret that makes her crave you when you're not around. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever had a conversation that made time disappear? Like 1 minute you're talking and the next, it's 2 a.m., but you don't even feel tired? She's laughing, leaning in closer, her eyes glowing, and you're thinking, how is this even happening? That's not luck. That's not chemistry. That's mental stimulation, and it's one of the most underrated but powerful forces in attraction. Let's check in on Daniel and Ava again. By this point, they had shared some meaningful moments. Emotional safety, steady consistency, and Daniel's quiet confidence. But it was the conversations that pulled Ava in deeper than anything else. One night, they were sitting in a small corner cafe, half-empty mugs in front of them, and Daniel asked her this: if fear didn't exist, what would you do with your life? She froze, not because it was a weird question, but because no one had ever asked her something that deep. It made her think. It made her feel seen, not just as a woman, but as a human being. That night, Ava told Daniel things she hadn't told anyone else. Dreams she'd buried, hobbies she missed, opinions she thought no one would understand. And Daniel, he didn't rush to respond. He didn't change the topic. He asked more questions. He stayed curious. He let her talk. And just like that, he wasn't just a guy she liked. He became a man she couldn't stop thinking about. Because here's what no one tells you. Attraction starts with the mind before it ever touches the heart or the body. If you can make a woman feel mentally alive, she will crave you. Not just your presence, but your mind. Your ideas. Your way of seeing the world. It's not about being a genius. It's about being curious. Most guys stick to the surface. They talk about work, weather, Netflix, rinse and repeat. But the man who asks questions like, what lights you up? What scares you the most but excites you too? What moment changed your life? That man, he stands out because he dares to go beneath the surface. And when you take a woman's mind to new places, she attaches you to those thoughts. You become the voice in her head, the echo in her heart, the late night thought that keeps her wondering what you'll say next. That's why Daniel became unforgettable. It wasn't about lines or flirting. It was about engaging her soul through deep, meaningful, stimulating conversation. So ask yourself, are you talking to impress her or to truly understand her? Are your conversations forgettable or unforgettable? Because when a woman's mind is lit up by you, her heart follows. And now let's take this one step further. Because the final piece of this puzzle, the thing that makes a woman feel not just drawn to you, but inspired by you, is something deeper. It's your purpose and passion. Let's bring it home with the most magnetic force of all. Number 5, purpose and passion. The energy that makes her see you as irreplaceable. Let me ask you this and be honest. What gets you out of bed in the morning? Is it just work? Just survival? Or is there something deeper? Something you're building, chasing, becoming? Now imagine this. You meet a woman. She's beautiful, smart, magnetic. But what truly captures you is how alive she is when she talks about what she loves. Maybe it's painting, maybe it's helping others, maybe it's building something that matters. She's not perfect, but she's plugged in, connected to something bigger, and you're drawn to her, not just because of who she is, but because of what she's about. Now flip that around. That's exactly how women feel about men with purpose, men with passion. Not the kind who just grind through their 9 to 5 and come home to Netflix, but the kind who are building something even if it's small. The kind of man who cares deeply about something and moves through life with intention. Let's return to our friend Daniel. Ava once told him, "You're attractive because of what you stand for, not just what you look like." Daniel wasn't a millionaire. He didn't drive a fancy car, but he talked with fire in his eyes when he spoke about his goals, how he wanted to teach kids in underserved communities, how he was building his own business from scratch, how he read every night to grow. Ava watched him speak and something stirred inside her. It wasn't just admiration. It was attraction on a soul level. Because here's the truth most men overlook. Purpose is magnetic. It tells her, you're not just chasing her, you're chasing your life. You're not empty, looking for someone to complete you. You're full, looking for someone to share the journey. You don't just need love, you have love to give because your life is already rich with meaning. Women don't want to build a future with a man who's lost in confusion. They want a man who's headed somewhere and invites her along for the adventure. And when she sees you light up about your goals, your dreams, your mission, she can't help but imagine herself next to you, helping you build it. That's what Daniel gave Ava. He wasn't trying to impress her. He was just on fire with his life. And in that flame, she felt safe. She felt excited. She saw potential, not just in him, but in what they could create together. So let me ask you, what are you living for? If you took her out of the equation, would your life still mean something? Because that's the kind of man a woman can't stop thinking about. Not because he needs her, but because he's already whole, and invites her into a beautiful, growing world. Now you've seen the 5 powerful forces that make a woman obsess over you. Not in a toxic way, but in a way that's deep, lasting, and real. And listen, if you've made it this far in the video, let me tell you something. You're not like most people. You care about love. You're not looking for tricks. You're looking for truth. And if you start showing up with emotional safety, consistency, confidence, deep connection, and purpose, she won't stop thinking about you. Because you won't just be a man she dated, you'll be the man she remembers always. So if this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and watch this video again if you need to. Sometimes the second time hits even deeper. And with that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.